Welcome back. It is week 7 of the school closure. You all just got back from April vacation, although it probably didn't feel like too much of vacation. A lot has happened since you've been away. First off, I got a haircut, but we're not going to talk about that because it was a homemade haircut. No, but seriously, we have a couple of small updates and then a little bit of an update on Hotspot and then some awesome professional development stuff for this week. So let's dive into it. First off, Chromebooks. Same as before, no big changes to Chromebooks. The pickup schedule is available in our appointment calendar. If you want to continue to do deliveries for your school, by all means, just reach out to us. We'll have you come to Campbell. We'll load up your car, and so you can get Chromebooks in the hands of your kids. You'll notice that we're starting to slow down the number of days that we're doing Chromebook deliveries, and that is twofold. The first reason is we don't have as much of a need anymore. But second is that allows us to focus our time on Chromebook repairs, which is really where we want to get to as fast as possible. So we're now doing usually about 3 days a week at Campbell for pickups for families, and then the other 2 days we are at Campbell, but we're doing repairs. And I'll get to that in a second. And the last thing I want to do is define need. So as we get to the point where we're slowing down our Chromebook deliveries, a lot of schools have reached out around particular students in different situations. And we've been very careful not to put too much of restriction around the definition of need. And what I mean by that is we're not going to put too many boundaries on who needs a Chromebook. We really want to leave that up to the families to decide if they have a need for a Chromebook. And so, a lot of you have reached out to me asking, does every student need a Chromebook? Or how about this student? And I want to basically say that's up to you. And that's up to you and the families to decide. Does this mean that every student in the Boston Public Schools is going to have a Chromebook? Well, we don't have the inventory for that. We bought 20,000, and we know that there's a lot more students in the district. But what we do want to say is that as you have a family reach out to you and say, or a teacher and say, my personal device is broken, can I get a Chromebook? Or I didn't have a need for one before, but now I do. That's where we want to be able to provide a Chromebook too. If a family has a computer if a child has a computer, a family has a computer, and it meets their needs, then we don't want to provide them a Chromebook because they have the means to get online. They have the ability to get online. They're attending classes, and that's more resources going towards students that may not necessarily need them. So again, it's all about families who have a need, and we're not going to put too many restrictions on that, other than if a family says, I don't need one or I need one, that's where the Chromebook goes. So that's it for Chromebooks for this week. Let's go on to tech support. So on the repair form, if you go to bostonpublicschools.org/laptop, there is a repair form that parents can fill out or students can fill out and let us know if there's a problem with their laptop. Hopefully they give us enough information in that form that we can reach out to them and talk about next steps, but oftentimes we do need to reach out to the family to talk about, well, what's going on with the laptop? Can we get some more information? Parents are being contacted with next steps. A lot of this comes down to part availability or depending on what the issue is. Because we've got lots of different models of Chromebooks out there, we're doing our best as we get repair devices in, get those fixed up, turned around, and get them back in the hands of a family as fast as possible. So our repair times are not where we want them to be right now, but we are moving as fast as we possibly can. And that's why I mentioned earlier that we went from 4 or 5 days doing deployments down to 3 days doing deployments and 2 days doing repairs so we can get your devices back up and running as fast as possible. And I will say that repairs and swaps are being handled by appointment, and this is because for 2 reasons for this one. One is we need to make sure that the device actually does need to be repaired. We're reaching out to families. We're looking to try to make sure that it's a hardware and not a software issue, and that can be repaired remotely. And then if it does need to come into the repair shop to be repaired, what we want to do is make sure that we minimize the number of people that are coming in. We want to minimize the contact that we have, and this is all to keep your family safe and keep our staff safe as well. So again, repairs and swaps are handled by appointment, and we'll reach out to families as we have the availability to do that. Moving on from tech support, I'm talking a little too fast, so I'll slow it down as we get to internet options. I'm gonna, in the email that I send to you with this video, I'm gonna include translated Comcast flyers. Comcast was nice enough to translate the flyers. We had a big request for this, and so those flyers are translated into all of our languages, and those will be in the email if you'd like to use those or distribute those to families or community members. With that, they have also announced that they're expanding their promotion to June 30th. That means that the 60 days of free internet, if they haven't signed up for it, they can get that now, and they will still be able to get 60 days of free internet until June 30th. And then along with that, they did also want to make sure that I advertised the ability for a family, if they have outstanding bills, they can call into Comcast. And they can work through that. And I know that Comcast has been very, very overwhelmed. They've got a lot of calls to get through, but they have been very, very helpful. If you do have particular cases that need a little bit of extra care, I've got a contact at Comcast, and she's been fantastic at helping us with some hard-to-reach families or hard to navigate cases. And so if you need a backdoor into Comcast, obviously we can't have every single family go through the back door, but if you've got one that's just really, really struggling and needs a little bit of extra care, please let me know, and we'll get that family hooked up with our contact over there, so they don't have to sit through or struggle with the call center. On that note, though, I do want to thank all of our schools who've had teachers or other school staff call on behalf of a family and sit through the call center and help a family get connected. It's been tremendous to see this community effort around getting families connected. And that's been a huge, huge relief for families, because if you don't have internet, chances are navigating a call center like Comcast and getting the box shipped to your house and setting it up is not easy. So it's been a tremendous effort to see some of our school staff helping families out with Comcast. And then hotspots. So before I get onto troubleshooting hotspots, if you still have families that need hotspots, please let me know. We still have some at Campbell. If you want to come to Campbell, just let me know ahead of time, and we'll get them all ready for you. And then you can get those out to families. We don't have unlimited. We don't have as many hotspots as we did Chromebooks, obviously. But again, this is all about need. This is all about getting them into the families that need them. And then one clarification too, very important, that you only need one per family. And so if you have a student who their sibling has already gotten a hotspot from their school, you don't need to give one to them, because that sibling's Chromebook will also work on that same hotspot. Each hotspot is configured to allow up to 5 devices, 5 Chromebooks. But that's a number that we can adjust. But again, if you get to about 5 Chromebooks on one hotspot, you're probably going to want to deliver a second one. But multiple Chromebooks can share one hotspot. So as you're delivering hotspots, you know that there's the form to enroll with the student number and the IMEI, and that enables it in the Verizon system. Some of you reached out around a couple of error messages, so I'm going to show you some screenshots of what these error messages look like on Verizon hotspots. So this is the screen, and as you know, this is what the hotspot looks like, and when you turn it on, this is what the screen is going to look like. This is what it should look like, even though it looks a little bit alarming. So a couple of things that some families have thought of as being an error, and that is this first one at top that says data usage info is not available at this time. That simply means that it hasn't gone through a billing cycle and it doesn't know how much data it has used. So if you do get a parent who gets this warning, I know it looks like there's a problem, but it's actually not a problem. This is expected when the devices are first activated and first enrolled. And that is, again, just means that it hasn't gotten a report of how much data it's used. It will eventually switch over and it will show you how much data it has used in this billing cycle. Up in the upper left, you can see the 4G signal. If you're familiar with what that looks like on a cell phone, you know that means I've got 2 bars out of 5. That's not too bad. And then my battery life on the right side. On the bottom is this little icon here. It says Wi-Fi on. That is a good sign to see. That means that the hotspot has been activated and it has turned the Wi-Fi on. And then if I click to my next screen, when a Chromebook is turned on and it's within a few, maybe about 10 or 15 feet, you're going to see this icon here appear, and that just means that there is one primary device that is connected to that. So again, this is what it looks like when you first turn it on, and then when you open up a Chromebook, it will look like this. Now, if a parent is saying that their Chromebook is not connecting, the best thing to do is to power that Chromebook off, turn it all the way off by holding the power button, turn it back on again, and then it should automatically connect. The hotspots are configured to broadcast the Chrome network. So if you remember at school, you had Chrome WLAN and your Chromebooks just automatically connected to that network. Well, we took that network and we extended it using these hotspots. So the Chromebooks are thinking that they're connecting to your school's network when they're actually connecting to the hotspot. So there's nothing extra that needs to be done. And then the last thing that you might hear from parents is, I get this setting thing that says Wi-Fi settings are locked. To unlock, go to Wi-Fi settings on the Jetpack admin website. This is to prevent students from changing the settings on the hotspot. And so if you have a family that says, I can't change the settings, I can't adjust anything, that is because the device has been activated and we have locked the settings down. Now you might be thinking, wait a minute, if they're locked to the Chrome WLAN network, how does it that a student's personal device is going to get connected? And the answer is they can't. And the reason for that is, we want to make sure that these devices are being used for educational purposes, meaning the Boston Public Schools Chromebooks. But also, more importantly, and really the main reason why these are locked to BPS Chromebooks is we have to enforce safe internet usage, meaning we have to filter them. And so when they are locked down to the Chrome network and they're locked down to the BPS Chromebooks, that enforces that the students are going to be filtered and safely navigating the web on this. That is not our rule. That's actually the CIPA, which is the Children's Internet Protection Act, requires that we block access to inappropriate content. And that is why the hotspots are locked down. But that might also be why some families may say that the hotspot is not working. I can assure you that if you get these settings like this and you see primary 1 or primary 2 or primary 3, that means that the Chromebooks have connected successfully. So hopefully that will help out, and in the email I'm going to include a help doc that will show you all these troubleshooting messages and then any errors that you might get. The last error, which is rare, is if a device has been provided to somebody and that activation form has not been filled out. After about a week, that device will be automatically locked and thought of as stolen. And so if you do get a student who says, I've got this message that it's stolen or lost or stolen and it's property of the Boston Public Schools and it's told me to reach out to the person who gave it to me, that is because the device wasn't activated. Super, super easy fix. All you need to do is just fill out that form where you enter the student ID and the IMEI, and you'll get back to having a hotspot that looks like this. So that's it. Last but not least, tips from working from home. We've got some really cool training going on this week. So we've got a lot of requests from teachers to do some training on some of the core systems that we have. So a lot of training this week on Google Classroom, a training on differentiation using Google Apps, another training on Zoom, and I'm going to talk about some updates with Zoom in a second. A really good training on read and write. If you're not familiar with read and write, you should be, because this is the coolest application that we have. It is available to all students across the district. It's that little purple puzzle piece that you may have seen on top of a Google Doc. And that is an accessibility tool that is basically like Kurzweil with a ton of other tools built into it. So it's been in BPS for like 3 or 4 years, but if you don't know what it is, I definitely encourage you to check out that training. Clever. And then I got to move my head here for this one. We've got some third-party trainings. So Lexia, Imagine Learning, and News to You are going to be holding some trainings this week for BPS teachers. So if you are using these applications in your school, our vendor providers, our vendors are going to be actually holding some trainings for BPS teachers. So really exciting for us on that. And then finally, Zoom updates. If you are if you open up your Zoom application, you may see this message right here. It says a new version is available. Now, normally I don't point out updates with software. This happens all the time. But I wanted to point out 4 enormous updates that are part of this new version. And this is both on Mac and PC. So the first is an upgraded backend security. They've added some very high-level encryption that will make sure that any data that is transmitted through Zoom is encrypted, and it's very difficult, if not impossible, for somebody to spy on and see. So I won't get into the technical mumbo jumbo, but that's a big technical update on the back end that you won't see, but it's really good to see that Zoom has updated their security encryption. The second one is within the application, if you have somebody Zoom bomb your session, you can actually report that person right from within Zoom. So you'll have a little button that says report this person for bad behavior. That sends an alert to Zoom, and they can take a look at that person's behavior, and if they get enough reports, they can ban that person from their platform. So very, very good to see that Zoom kind of responded to a lot of the Zoom bombing issues. There's some additional options at the end of meetings. So if you've ever been in a meeting and the host says, I gotta go, but you still want to keep talking, now the host can keep the meeting going and assign somebody else as a host. And then in the chat, there will be a notification if the person chatting is not a member of the Boston Public Schools community. So really cool upgrades, but again, you only get these updates if you update your Zoom program. So when you see this banner that says a new version is available, click the update button. That's it. I tried to talk a little too fast tonight, so hopefully this wasn't too much information in a short amount of time. But welcome back from April vacation. I know that it's been a very, very tough transition, and from everybody on the team, everybody on the BPS technology team, thank you so much for hanging in there with us, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.